Good evening. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Newton Falls City Council. Today is Monday, March 4th. Yes. This is a regular meeting. So if you would turn all your cell phones off, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer. I'll this order. I got order on that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Theobald, would you?
It would be an attitude of prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for all who gathered this evening and the blessings you have enriched us with this day. We thank you for life itself and the measure of health we've enjoyed today and for the sustenance you have provided. We thank you for the freedoms we enjoy every day and those who preserve and protect them for us. Therefore, I pray for our leaders, our council, our mayor, our city manager, our finance director, our law director, and our Madam Clerk, that you grant them the wisdom and understanding, the wisdom to govern amid the conflict issues of today, the understanding of the needs of our city and her people, the desire for justice and righteousness for all, the willingness to work together even when there is a disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before them today, that you may guide them in the work set them before them tonight. In the blessed name of the Lord, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, unless prearranged, public comment sections are limited to 3 minutes. We use a timer. When the timer goes off, we'll ask you to conclude your statements. This is not a debate or question and answer session. And the first public comments are for agenda items only. The second one or the last one is for any items you want. And if you would please remain quiet and respect the people around you so they can hear, we would appreciate that. Would the clerk please take roll?
Mr. Battisti?
Here.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stempert?
Here.
Mr. Beer?
Here.
Mr. Alberini?
We have a request to do a very short, quick executive session for possible legal action.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Terry Alberini.
Yeah, he said he'd be late. He's at the doctor's office. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
To excuse? Or
Terry, well,
Excuse his lateness, tardiness.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stempert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes. All right, do we have a motion to go into executive session for possible pending legal action?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? But just be real quick, just want to get the information to you.
You can leave the chairs here. It's going to be that quick.
Okay.
Roll, please.
Mr. Stempert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
I'd like to ask also Mr. Lane come with us.
And the police chief.
And the police chief? Okay.
Everybody please watch this court. That's, please.
Do we have a motion to adjourn executive session and reconvene?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stempert?
Yes.
We have a guest with us tonight, Dr. Van Epps from Dover. He's here about the railroads. I didn't know he was coming. He needs to go to Lordstown to their meeting tonight. I asked that council give him permission to speak in opening comments. He's not on the agenda, and his his talking points are not on the agenda, but because of them coming up and going to Lordstown, I asked that we allow him to speak. Is there a motion to allow him to speak on our opening comments?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stempert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Dr. Van Epps?
Council, Mayor.
Thank you for taking me out of regular order. My name is Dr. Daniel Van Epps. I'm from Dover in Tuscarawas County. I'm Executive Director of 2 community improvement corporations down there. We've been working with the mayor about trying to preserve the CSX rail line through your town. It is imperative that the rail line be kept intact and remains accessible. The realtors down in Tuscarawas County in that area have been saying that businesses keep calling them up looking for parcels that are rail served. But it's kind of hard down in our area when the railroads have taken out the rail lines. So the price we've been quoted is about $1.1 million per mile to put them back in. That's the low end. If they took out bridges and other appurtenances, it goes up from there. So you see the price of trying to keep this versus putting in a new one. There should be more opportunities for new plastic plants in this region because of the new crackers going in over there in Monaca, Pennsylvania, and the other one down there, Shady Side. So those pellets, if we can keep those pellets in the region, make plastics, that's going to be jobs and business. So it'd be good to have rail service to get those here versus trucks. There's an article just the other day that said the price of trucking is going to be going up. So again, imperative to try to keep those rail lines active. If you can continue to have meetings on this subject, hopefully we can preserve this and come to some sort of conclusion that benefits everybody. So that's all I had for you. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
Thank you, Doctor.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else wishing to speak on tonight's agenda?
Richard Zemeznik, 242 Oak Knoll. I originally came up here because you have an ordinance tonight on recreational vehicles. I didn't quite know and understand what it was about, so I talked to several of you today. After I got a good understanding, and this is only going to be for a handful of people that are causing problems here, I would just ask that the city prosecutor be able to tell me sometime tonight at appropriate time, if the police were to see them go into a yard, does that make it enforceable that they could cite under? Because I don't believe that if they didn't see where they were coming from, or they didn't see them running around in the yard, being a misdemeanor, I didn't think they could do anything, but that's all I wanted, and thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to council? All right, I got some things here tonight, and I'll start out with, I got a call today from Eastern Gateway Community College. There's a need in this area for qualified individuals for some jobs that are vacant. And part of the economic development programs that are out there, you can create a program within your development program to help schools and other places qualify their students. Not everybody goes to college, so they want to, get some qualifications out there, get things going for people in the area. So Mr. Lynch is going to talk with them tomorrow, and they want to come to council and do a presentation, let you know what they can do for us and for our community, and partner up with the schools and what kind of programs they can put out there. So that's coming up. I also talked with Mr. Wilson from the SCOPE program. He's real excited that we might be able to bring a SCOPE program back into town, and he's going to be meeting with us and me and the city manager and I to go over that, because there is a little bit of financial responsibility for the city, and each year you have it, that goes down a little bit. So we're going to talk about that and trying to bring the senior programs back in. I was doing some research there with some Jobs Ohio stuff I got, and there are some grants here for roadways. Projects for these grants include lane widening, creation of turnarounds, paving, lighting, infrastructure, water, sewer, construction. So here's a couple of things you can look at. Maybe
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
we can work on that. NEMS classes, Those of you who have not taken the couple of NIMS classes that you guys need to take, please do so. They're kind of interesting when you do that. Last week I attended a power lunch over in Boardman with the Chamber. It's interesting to go down and sit with local business people and trying to see where they want to relocate, see what they want to do. I also was able to promote the event on Wednesday at Robbie Lee's for the lattes and legislatures, so that was good. We had a meeting the last couple of weeks with our marketing company. I went to the Trumbull County EMA meeting, and then later on that evening we had a EMA Board of Trustees meeting, and I was reappointed to the board for the next 2 years. We had a Mayor's Association meeting. Mr. Lynch and I went to that. Sat with Mr. DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted. Very spirited conversation, very good dialogue. As I talked when Mr. Ryan was here, the things that are important to us are having the way the grants are right now for properties, for infrastructure grants. You have to have an end user. You have to have somebody who wants to come here and build on a piece of property. And if you don't have everything in place, sometimes it takes a year, year and a half, maybe longer to get the grant, and then it takes another year, year and a half to get the engineering and the thing built. And by that time, they're looking someplace else because there's a lot of places out there where they have everything and we don't. And to have an end user in place is really not the best thing for this valley. Gerard, others are complaining about the same thing, so we're looking for Governor DeWine and some of this legislation through Jobs Ohio, these grants to try to get grants and get some infrastructure put in strategic places for our annexation. I met in Washington, D.C. with Senator Portman, Representative Johnson, Senator Brown, and Representative Tim Ryan at his office down there. We met with all of them. We talked about the things that are important to us, as I mentioned at the meeting. There's a lot of legislation out there that affects municipalities. And by going to these meetings, we understand what it is. The OMEA is a legislative political action committee, basically, that works on behalf of all the municipalities that are in Ohio, that are in municipalities, trying to do things. And one of the biggest ones is this, the BAB bonds and the failure of the government to continue to pay off the BAB bonds, which are Build America bonds. That actually has an effect on our electric rate. And so we're working to see if we can get federal government to either waive those or get back to paying them, so we can maybe see a little bit of a cost difference in our utility rates. The other part of that there was communities there from all over the United States. And what's really interesting to sit down and talk with these communities is what they're doing in the way of promoting jobs and businesses in their community, how they use their assets to incentivize, these people coming in. We have water, electric, and sewer, and our biggest asset is the electric because we can play around with the numbers a little bit where other utilities cannot. And it gives us a little bit of a leg up. I know that in the past some people wanted to try to get rid of our utilities here, and that's the worst thing you can do. We have control of them. We're able to use those as an economic development tool, and they're used all over the country that way. It's kind of exciting to listen to some of the things that they've thought up across the country in different communities when it comes to utilizing our assets, and we have some of those. Since you're here, Bill, I've got some things that after Mr. Lynch gets done looking at them, I'd like you to get them. Here's a Public Power magazine. It's the economic development issue. There's just some really good stuff in these magazines that really pertains to us. A couple of them, it shows how to handle the community, how to unlock your winning success, and how to deal with business. it's just an interesting, when it comes to attracting and retaining business in the community, it's not simple. The more the merrier. You need to find a match between what your community has to offer and what businesses and you can provide the business. Public Power in Florida, Nebraska, and North Carolina offer insights on how they align their development goals with their local values. I talked to the guys in Florida. They got some really interesting things they do down there with their public power. So very interesting articles in there for that. Here's a mutual aid playbook. A lot of good things in it if you've never seen this. Here's another book on how to realign your public power with the businesses. And then I just had a packet from all that. It was really a good meeting, and there's a lot of great information out there that we can continue to use and promote from within. So, that was the agenda. Mr. Battisti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city manager and myself, we met with some of the residents from Eagle Point to discuss their the project that's going to go in probably later this fall. Also was David Bacala from E. Thomas Folk and Paul Kurtz. We were discussing some of the things with the residents about realigning the pipe and some discussion on that. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All I would like to say was that I was honored, and I know the village was, to have Congressman Ryan here, and we did discuss more.
Just need your reports for now.
Oh.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay, well, nothing right now. I have no report.
Okay. Mr. Battisti. No. Mr. Stemper.
My next fire board meeting will be on the 26th. I apologize. I do not have the numbers with me tonight. I will be getting those so we can put them out on the site regarding the number of calls. I will tell you that we are running neck to neck with last year. We are like number 3 or 4 in the county as far as emergency service and fire department. So I will get those numbers to Mayor, and like I said, the next meeting is Tuesday at the Township Hall on the 26th at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Mr. Beer.
Planning and zoning has been canceled for tomorrow night, and besides that, I also attended the fire board meeting as the alternate. I thought it would be good to learn a little bit about what they do there, and that's it for me.
Since Mr. Alberini's not here, there is one thing I did forget. The Ohio Municipal League is keeping us informed on some of the things that the governor wants to do, and you're pretty much, he wants to put that gas tax on. And there's a lot of support for the gas tax out there, but there are also people who don't want it. The convenience stores, True North, which is owned by Leiden, they're fighting against it. A lot of the gas stations are fighting against it. But if that goes, and if it stays in its true form as it is, in 2020, Newton Falls could receive $170,000 plus for its general fund for road work. And in 26, we could get $317,000. And the township, actually, I was surprised, Newton Township would get $90,000 next year, and in 6 years they would get $193,000. So that gas tax is something that I was looking at the cost of gas the other day when I was traveling, and even 18 cents won't bring ours up to what the cost of gas is in PA. But there's a lot of support for a gas tax increase out there. So, Attorney Fritz.
Nothing to report. I'm available for any questions, gentlemen.
Any questions for Law Director? Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to present a subset report and then get into a general report. But the subset report is, Mr. Chairman, I'd like you to recognize the finance director who's going to give a brief finance report as a subset of my own report.
That would be up to council. Would council make a motion to allow the finance director to make her report? She's not
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll, please.
Mr. Boriak?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, Mayor and Council, today we're just doing a very brief financial report. There's 3 reports that was handed out to you tonight. First report is just a report that the bank reconciliation is balanced for the month of January at $8,297,902.09. The second portion of my report, you'll see a graph. It's just a 3-year analysis of just the month of January and February to show where we are at with income tax collections. And then the last report is just the cash position report as of the end of February. And if you go to the very last line, you will see that the city revenue is higher than what has actually been expending out for the end of the month of February. So my report is that we're stable and we are doing okay. As I want to let you know, February numbers are very early. We do not have our income tax collections for the year. We do not have our largest property tax revenue coming in. And obviously this is just the second month of the year. And then as you can look at the general fund, we are slightly using the carryover balance, which is anticipated in our budget. So again, everything is normal and we're doing okay. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. One thing, by the way, that you should make note of, it is way too early to tell if this is a trend, but the collections, total collections for January 19 are in excess where they were in January 18, as you can tell from that chart, by a very healthy margin. Now, that is too early to establish if it's a trend. I hope that it is, by virtue of the fact that the turning things over to the Regional Income Tax Authority was in its early stages last year. So we'll wait and see. But if we do have a trend, we're hoping that continues because that's a pretty good sign, I think, of the fact. 2 other brief things, and that is that tomorrow I'll be appearing before the Board of Trustees of Braceville Township, and we are looking at the idea of building bridges with our neighbors, and so I'll have continued dialogue with them. Braceville will play, I think, an integral role in our continued annexation activity, because in our continued annexation that Newton Falls City wants to work hand in that and ensure that development along Route 5 is something that benefits them as well as benefits our community. And I see them as very functional partners in getting this done. And I'm hoping to get back to you at the next council meeting to let you know what a warm reception I had in Braceville tomorrow evening. And one additional point is just a matter of communications. As you know, this meeting is going out live, as our meetings have in the past, but it's being done with a higher level of technical production, and you'll see, and I think our residents will see that it's better. Our YouTube channel went live on Saturday, March 2nd. In addition to that, these meetings will be appearing on Facebook, and as well as on Spectrum Channel 1023 is our Spectrum channel. And then 2 meetings to remind you of. One is just on Wednesday, March 6th, and that is the Lattes and Legislators. And that's going to be a very important communication from Ralph Ellison regarding the missile defense base. That's information which could be life-changing for our entire community. And then I also want to make sure that all the councilmen and members of the public will set aside the date of March 27th, a luncheon meeting at Robbie Lee's at 11:30, the first State of the City address presented to the entire community by our mayor, Judge, maybe that's his next office, Mayor Waddell on March 27th. And all the city employees are invited, every member of the community. And it's a chance for our community to come together to see what's happening around, and contact the city clerk's office. If you'd like tickets and you don't have any right now, that number is 330-872-0806. And Your Honor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the city manager's report.
Any questions for the city manager?
Manager.
Yeah, I have a question for Anna.
Mr. Bariak, address it to me. Anna's not on the agenda. So address it to me and we'll get it
For the city
through.
manager.
Yeah.
Does this show that Rita is doing better now that we went with Rita, or is that part of the reason maybe?
Yeah, well, I can respond to it, and I will, because I'm in communication with the finance director, especially Rita, as it relates to this. It may. It's too early to tell, because we're only doing apples to apples from January, and you know they start in January. So it's too early to tell. My hope is that the answer is yes, but there's also another indicator of what's happening in terms of it demonstrating that the economy is picking up. So it's kind of like an athlete that just won the gold medal. Was it because they ate better, because they trained better, because of the fact that they used a different method of training? We don't know. All we know at this stage is it looks like good news.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager? All right, Mr. Lane.
Good evening, everybody. Chuck Lane, Newton Falls Water Distribution. This time of the year, it's kind of sometimes slow. The water break gods have been good to us, so we've been really low on them. Some of the things that we've been doing, our valve exercise program, the EPA mandates that we exercise our valves. We got about 1,050 of them. We have about 80-some critical and transmission valves that have to be operated every year. The rest of them have to be operated every 5 years. We go out, we find any broken ones, valve boxes, simply locating the valve, find out where it's at. So that helps us. Our backflow inspections, we've been doing those. Again, the EPA mandates that we go out. We have around 180 of them in the city. We have to go into the business, whatever it is. One, make sure it's still that device. Make sure they haven't changed any processes or made any cross connections or anything. So those have to be done. Our residual flushing, we do that all year long. Maintain water quality in our dead end lines and stuff, along with the valve operating and the fire hydrants and stuff, the GIS. We got to get working on putting that in so that we can better track and log all of this. Been working on the updating of our maps so we can get them to the engineer so they can run a computer model so that we can see if things have changed now that we're going north, if we need to change our 10-year plan or whatever. Testing of the large meters, our main valves, our curb boxes, we got about 2,500 curb boxes and, like I said, 1,050 main valves and watch valves. We have a book, we call it our Bible of the measurements, and we're making new ones and updating and getting new measurements and stuff on those. So hopefully we can get that all put together so we have those and keep that going. Training the new guys. One guy's got 2 years, one guy's got 3 years. Of the 5 licenses that they need, one needs 1 and one needs 2. So they're pretty close to getting what they're required there, but the training part and learning that's always goes on. We collect our monthly bacteria samples. I mean, that's pretty much it. Our daily work orders, marking, digging locations, relieving in the water plant. Our guys relieve down there, so whatever. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's more, but I don't want to bore everybody with everything.
Any questions for Mr. Lane? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
Any changes to tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we should include accepting the finance report for the month of January. She went over this earlier.
What was that?
Number 5. We need to accept the finance report as she presented. We should probably add as number 5.
Oh, get the Bob, yes.
Yes, sir.
Should be the bank reconciliation.
Yeah, that should be the motion.
Just
The motion should be accepting the January 2019 bank reconciliation report.
Yes.
Are we under changing the agenda yet?
Yeah, we need a second on that.
To what?
Add
I
a number
second
5. Discussion? Roll.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes, I'd like to add some things to the agenda tonight. I'd like to dissolve the current Economic Development Committee. I'd like to make the mayor's office an economic resource office, open from 8 to 4 for all the councilmen to use. And I'd like to form a committee for growth and economic development with the mayor and Mr. Batista on that.
Do we go individually or? I second.
We don't have to do that individually.
Okay.
What was the second one?
Is there a second?
What was the second item?
Make the mayor's office an economic resource.
To make it a resource office, open from 8 to 4 for all the councilmen to use as a resource office.
All right, do we have a motion to add those to the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll.
Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
All right, we have a public hearing tonight, ordinance 2019-06, an ordinance prohibiting all-purpose vehicles of the city. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Motion. No, yeah. Okay, how about a motion to accept the minutes? So moved. From February 19th, 2019.
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
We also have a public hearing for ordinance 2019-07, authorizing the city manager into a contract with the Newton Falls Board of Education. Anyone wishing to speak for or against that? Hearing none. Under unfinished business, would the clerk please read ordinance 2019-06?
An ordinance prohibiting all-purpose vehicles in the city of Newton Falls.
Is there a motion to accept 2019-06?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
All right, on ordinance 2019-07, there's a little bit of an issue. We passed that for its first reading. The Board of Education has sent a proposal back over. It's a counter proposal. So that ordinance, what we passed really isn't in play. We can amend that, but there's ongoing negotiation with that. So the options are, there is really no such thing as tabling anything. We do that, but it's really not legal to do that. So we can postpone it indefinitely, or we can postpone it to another date. If you postpone it indefinitely, it kills it, it'll never come back, you just redo it again. We can postpone it to March 18th and then put it back up on the agenda, but if it goes on the agenda, it has to be voted on the 18th. So if everything's not in place, it dies anyway for a lack of a passage, and then we can put it back on as new legislation. So we need to probably make a motion to table this to March 18th.
But I have one question. The title says authorizing the city manager just to enter into contract with the Newton Falls Board of Education. I know there's a contract separately, but are we really voting on just entering into the contract, or are we actually voting on the contract?
Well, he's going to enter the contract, but the contract is not in place.
I would prefer it gets tabled to the 18th.
Okay.
There may be some changes, as you know. I've been dialoguing with the board as relates to, or with the superintendent as relates to some changes. So if you would table this until the 18th, prior to that time, I will present some amendments in all likelihood. And then I believe the law director will probably consider those amendments to be minor enough in nature that you can amend that then, and then enter to passage on the 18th.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Thank you.
So we need a motion
I would
to,
like to make that motion that we table it to the 18th.
second? Second. Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Burrick?
Yes.
Clerk, please read ordinance 2019-08.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into wrong one, sorry. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase property from Michael J. and Christine A. Pasquale.
Is there a motion to accept ordinance 2019-08?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. This is the property at the corner of, on the northeast corner of 5 and 534.
I'd like to hear the city manager give the reasoning for the property.
Councilman Burrick, ladies and gentlemen, Your Honor, this property is located along Route 5, near Route 534, and I consider it to be a front porch gateway piece of property. As you know, we're trying to develop Route 5, but one of the key components of success in economic development is the city's opportunity to control certain elements of real estate that are key in terms of their location. So that doesn't necessarily mean we will develop that property, although signage is the kind of thing, if we own the property, we can put up there to introduce people as they're coming into the city, and in addition to that, use that property to entice a developer to perhaps buy the remainder of that property from us for the purposes of development along Route 5. So we've negotiated what I think is really an excellent price as it relates to that property, and I'd like us to be able to control it. The nice thing about real estate is once we own it, we control it from a financial standpoint as well. So that means that if we just ever decide to sell the property, we can recover whatever money we're putting into it at this time. So I would ask that the council vote yes on this for those reasons.
Mr. Lynch, just for clarification for the audience, this is in reference to the old G&W property?
Precisely. That's that property.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else on the first address? Burrick?
This will help us to be able to go annex and go east. Was that brought up? Did I just miss that?
No. That has no bearing on the annexation.
I'm sorry. Thought it might help us.
Well, it may, but it has no bearing on what we're going to do. It's not in line. It's out of line.
Maybe a positive in the long run, Councilman.
Yeah.
I think it might be a positive in the long run.
Anyone else? Roll, please.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Burrick?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Clerk, please read Resolution 14-2019.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an audit agreement with Spyglass Group, LLC.
Is there a motion to accept Resolution 14-2019?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Who's Spyglass?
I'm sorry.
Who is Spyglass?
Yeah, members of council, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, every now and then, communities will undertake what is called an energy audit. In this case, this refers to our telecommunications, our telephones, and our wireless service for the purpose of reducing the cost. We are paying nothing to this company to do this audit. However, if they identify ways in which we can reduce our phone bill or our wireless telephone bill, they'll present a plan to us to reduce it. If we agree to engage that plan and put it in place, then they get a portion of our savings. The savings, however, the portion they get is not for even a 12-month period, it's for 10.5 months, and they will get a portion of those savings. If we get a cash refund from the telecommunications companies, because in the past they identify ways in which the bills should have been changed and or adjusted, then they get a portion of that as well. So it's basically sort of a contingent fee as it relates to these companies. They only make money if they either make or save us money. And these audits should probably be done every 5 years or so. The last time a telecommunications audit was done for the city of Newton Falls was approximately 7 years ago.
Thank you for that explanation. Thank you for the explanation.
Roll, please.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stuppert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
All right, we have Resolution 15-2019. Clerk, please read that.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Thomas Voc and Associates, Inc.
Is there a motion to accept Resolution 15-2019?
So moved.
Second? Second, discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stuppert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes. I have an appreciation, certificate of appreciation here to Mr. Bariak from Bariak's Tree Service, and Falls City Council acknowledges and commends John Bariak for his dedication and commitment to the city of Newton Falls. Recently, Mr. Bariak provided his bucket truck to our electric department at no cost to the city to help our municipal electric department on the 69 kV transmission switch. John Bariak demonstrated his dedication to and interest in the community by his commitment to serving the residents and improving the quality of life of his residents. And the City of Newton Falls City Council wish to express their sincere appreciation to Mr. Bariak for his service to the community. Is there a motion to accept this certificate of appreciation?
So moved.
Second? Second. Discussion?
Bill George, Electric Superintendent for the city. I just wanted to thank John personally for that. We got to work, we were working on our 69 kV switch. We had both of our bucket trucks out there. We could not reach the switch it needed fixed. We were about 10 feet short. So I contacted John about using his bucket truck to reach up. His would reach 75 feet. So I spoke to him about that, about him donating it to us, and he was glad to help right on the spot. If we wouldn't have done that, we'd have had to go rent a truck, and then our outage would have lasted longer. We were under a timeline with First Energy, so we only had 24 hours to fix it. And John stepped up and let us use his truck and everything. And of course, I went through Dave and made sure it was all right to do that before we did that. But I just wanted to say thank you personally for that.
Thank you. So motion to accept that, there was a motion, yeah.
Could I say something?
Well, thank you, appreciate you.
Yeah. I'd just like to say, this is to the, since I've been councilman, and many times I've worked for the village, I've never charged for anything. It is the right thing to do. I want to give back to the people in the place I love. It is an honor to serve this community. Thank you.
Mr. Stuppert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the Finance Department's report for the January 2019 Bank Reconciliation Report? So moved. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Stuppert?
Yes.
Is there a motion to disband the current Economic Development Committee?
So moved.
Second? Discussion?
I'd like to be heard, Mr. Chairman, when
Sure.
it's appropriate.
Go ahead.
Members of council, I didn't realize that this was going to appear on this meeting. I got the impression that this was a motion that might appear at a future meeting date. I am currently in discussions, sensitive, delicate discussions, with some corporate leadership about some new economic development projects to come our way in Newton Falls right now. And one of them is just about ready to blossom. The other one is just a little bit further down the road. These are economic development projects for job creation, which are really crucial for our city. So there's kind of a delicate balance right now. And anything that this council does with reference to economic development committees, expansion motions, activity of the city council as it relates to the authority of the council is an area of unpredictability for me in terms of the impact on this corporate leadership. It might be that a motion like this, and the subsequent one as well, would have no impact whatsoever, which would be great. But I kind of consider this as kind of like a diamond cutter. When the diamond cutter is cutting the diamond, don't even open the door so the breeze might blow through the room, because it may have some kind of impact on it. So I think the impact might be minimal, but I don't know, because we're dealing with people who have the right to make decisions independently on their own of what they think is appropriate. So respectfully, I would ask that this motion and the next one, both of which may be entirely appropriate, be postponed until those negotiations come to a close. And as I have mentioned to members of council before, I think that all comes to a close by the end of April, I think, and I would ask that these motions not be considered by this body until that time, with deepest respect.
Any other comments?
Yes, I'd like to have an address. I'd like to, I made a motion then to form a committee with the mayor, and you will be on it, you know that.
That's not this motion.
Oh, to dissolve the current economic, well, we're going to replace it. As soon as we dissolve this one, we're going to replace it with the next motion down.
I'm not saying.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Wait until April.
Well,
That's all I'm asking this council to do. Can I continue to be recognized, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else on the first address?
I'd just like to say that I think that the motion that he has made and the subsequent motion is going to replace, I think that you're not going to see any, I mean, we're keeping Mr. Lau Waddell on the committee, or that's what his motion is. So I don't think you'll see anything different. I think it'll just be moving one body into another, and Mr. Battisti will be joining.
Mr. Lynch, you have a second address when anybody else is done.
Good.
Yeah. Councilman Stipper, one of the things that you said that I can't really argue with too much, you says, I don't think we'll see any impact on it. I don't think we'll see any impact on it. I mentioned the delicacy of what I'm doing right now. I agree with you, I don't think we'll see any challenges, but if we guess wrong, it's going to be a significant detriment to our success here. One of the things that I think that the members of this council brought forward in terms of trying to resolve some of the economic development issues here in Newton Falls was to turn the reins of economic development over to a new city manager. And you asked me to take charge. Now, I've tried to do so, and I've tried to do so in an aggressive fashion. So I'm grabbing the reins of this horse right now and asking you to respect my wishes on this and wait until April. I don't want to report back to you that our thinking, maybe we're 90% right, maybe Councilman Stipper, we're 99% right. I don't want to take that 1% risk. And I'm urging the members of this council to wait until April. Hold on, hold your horses, and let me get this taken care of.
Second address?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
Thank you. I want to let the council know that the city manager has been very open with regard to negotiations, and these negotiations take time, and they're back and forth and back and forth. And we're like the 11th hour on a couple of things here. He brings them to me, we go through them. What I'm suggesting is the same thing he is, that if you were just a little bit of patience, you can get to where you want to go. But we're in the 11th hour of some of these contracts to come back in with new people, even trying to bring them up to speed, it might be extremely difficult. And I think it's dangerous. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Battisti is going to be retiring from General Motors in 2 days. He's already going to have all the time in the world to catch up. Also, what I'd like to see is a man step in and start to learn, because as you know, the mayor will be stepping down within a year. And I'd like to see knowledge transferred and get it started as quickly as possible. The mayor sharing and everybody. 1 month isn't going to make any difference. And Mr. Lynch, with the, please, excuse me, with the expertise you have, sir, I don't think it's going to miss a beat, skip a beat. Mr. Alberini is a very busy businessman. I know his work schedule, and sometimes he has to be caught up on, you know what I mean, to do things himself. Mr. Batista is going to have a lot of time. I don't think it's going to skip a beat. I know the way I'm going to vote.
Anything else? Roll, please. Second address, Mr. Chair.
You already had two.
Can I get a third one?
No. Roll, please.
Wait a minute, could we have, could she please read the, a motion again? I mean, what we're voting on?
The motion is to disband the current Economic Development Committee.
Thank you.
Roll, please.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Mr. Boriak?
Yes.
Mr. Stumpert?
Yes.
Mr. Beer?
No.
Motion fails. Is there a motion?
Excuse me, point of order?
Yes.
How does the motion fail?
Because we already have an Economic Development Committee, it takes 4 votes to disband it.
I would like to see that.
Okay,
Righty?
you got it.
Okay.
But
And also, parliamentary point of order.
that's to me.
Parliamentary point of order.
What is your point of order?
We have the supermajority tonight here.
No, you don't. You have to have 4 votes, John, to do away with it.
All right, well, then I'd like,
Supermajority.
No, you don't. You need 4 votes. You need 4 votes to do away with it.
okay, then I'm going to call for a second.
Well, you're out of order. You're out of order.
All right, to the law director.
No, I don't need the law director. You can dock that on your own time.
Okay.
Okay, the mayor's, we have a motion to take the mayor's office and turn it into whatever it is. I can't accept that motion. That's an administrative duty and not the duty of this council, so I won't accept that motion. And you want to create a motion to create a Growth and Economic Development Committee with Mr. Battisti and myself on that. Is there a motion to do that? Motion fails. Okay, closing comments from the public. Okay, having none, closing remarks, Mr. Battisti.
I would like to thank Congressman Ryan for coming, and I would also like to thank Mr. Lynch for setting up those meetings with the residents on Eagle Point. Thank you.
I would like to thank Congressman Ryan for coming too. There is a discussion about the we had a lot of economic discussion about all the way from electric cars to the gas tax. And the gas tax, we will be getting a lot of money, but right now it'll affect the poor people, the people that'll be paying the $5 and $10 extra that maybe not be able to afford it. Also, we want to move the village forward, and I hope that we can do that. We'll be seeing what will be going on. Thank you for tonight.
Mr. Stemper.
I'd just like to also thank Congressman Ryan for coming out. And if you have not logged on to Newton Falls TV, please do so. You can also see a lot of the Congressman Ryan when he was here. That's on a loop. You're able to see that on YouTube. You're also able to watch tonight's meeting, and future meetings that we will have will also be on our TV channel. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Beer.
I also would like to thank Congressman Ryan. I think that it is an honor anytime that our congressman comes and communicates with us, and it was really nice to have him here. Also, I'd like to talk about what's going on with Healthy Treasures here in town. Has a group that they're forming. It's called a Blue Zone group. And what it's all about is about healthy living and how to, blue zones are places in the world where people live exceptionally long lifespans. And they've done studies on it. So basically, this group is about making our community a healthier community. I think anybody that's interested in coming, they meet on Monday night at 6:30, the nights that we're not here in council. In other words, next Monday, they'll have a meeting, and it's in the Forest of Youth Spa, which is in the old Nyhart building. So anybody that's interested, come on down next Monday night at 6:30.
Attorney Fritz. Mr. Lynch.
Your Honor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to express appreciation related to the motion and certificate appreciation given to Councilman Bariak today. When you're in the public eye, sometimes the easiest thing to do is keep a low profile, keep your head down, and stay out of things. When Bill George called him, he didn't say, I'm staying out of things and it's none of my business. He stepped up. And remember, when his bucket truck, which is used as a tree service, helps our electric department, that means it's out of service for Mr. Bariak's regular business. So he's not just contributing it in a way that saves us money from having to hire a bucket truck, but he's taking his own revenue-producing equipment out of circulation, and the city is certainly in your debt. And I would hope that when this meeting adjourns, I don't want anybody to leave, we'd like to get a photograph with the handing over the certificate of the mayor to Councilman Bariak. So if you'd all assemble over against the wall, that would be great. Those are my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also would, it's nice to go to Columbus and talk with your state legislators and go into D.C. and talk with all the legislators that, affect what they do here in the state of Ohio and in our area. And I met with Congressman Ryan with the mayor of Cuyahoga Falls, and they took a picture with us, and Cuyahoga Falls posted on their media sites, and it was up on their TV channels up there. They're very proud and that their people are going to Washington to meet with their legislators also and working with Public Power. We're having some discussion with Public Power now on some things, and I think that there are some pros and cons to Public Power, but I think the pros of it is, we control our own destiny, and Public Power gives us another tool in the basket to play with, and it's very, very beneficial to us. And when you sit in meetings and listen to people from all over the United States, especially people that are in upstate Minnesota where it's freezing cold up there and they're getting all kinds of snow, and over in California where they're having issues, and down in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, they're doing the same things with Public Power all over the United States that we're starting to do. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. They have some really good ideas out there. But it's nice that our legislators take the time to be with us. I was just absolutely amazed again, as I was the last time I was there, how busy the legislators are. The staff, again, I just have to comment on the staff. They were absolutely excellent. They're extremely knowledgeable on the subjects that we were talking about, and we had 4 subjects. Just amazing, because they're complicated, in-depth subjects, and their staffs are right on top of that, and I appreciate that. Also with the governor and Lieutenant John Husted coming to the Mayor's Association last week, or a week ago. And the city manager got to meet him first, darn. And but it's just nice to sit down and be able to talk with him. And he's pretty open, he's pretty understanding. We don't know what will happen, we don't know what will get passed in the legislature, but there is an understanding that municipalities and communities need some assistance. The local government fund that we lost is important to everybody here. They're hoping maybe that the gas tax will pick some of that up, and maybe we'll get some of that local government tax back. But it was nice of the governor to listen, take a lot of notes. His staff took notes, and some of the information that I've read already since that meeting with the Ohio Municipal League is that it's kind of made its way into the legislature, some of the comments that were made there, specifically about the grants and the funding. But it's just nice to get our elected officials to come to the area, and I appreciate what they did. Motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Correa?
Yes.
Mr. Stemper? Yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Batiste? Yes. There's no discussion on the motion.
I know. It's not too late. Is there a 3-second delay here? You're out.